My name is Ryan Static, and I'm an artist in a multitude of ways. You can say I'm a multifaceted artist. Dedication is a weird one for me because I think you devote your life to it. You know, it's not just, oh, it's a hustle and I treat it as like a job or whatever. It's like, no, it's like you're thinking about it like 24/7. It's when you completely acclimatize yourself to what you do, but which has its its pros and cons. I mean, for me, I've always been inspired by telling stories. You know, my dad used to write books. Like, he wanted to be an author and stuff, and I think a lot of the stuff that he brought me up on was very much like, a lot of musicians or artists who they told stories through their work. I think because, of things that have happened in my life, it's like, why would I not want to create art around those aspects? You can get most of your essence from looking at those things, and expressing them, and instead of trying to like fit some like kind of trendy narratives to, like, I don't know, buy people into what you do. I believe like the most unique thing about anyone is their story. It's the only thing that you completely own and no one else can claim. That's what inspires pretty much everything, I think. I think Ryan Stagg, he's very much, if I'm going to speak in third person now, he's like an anti-persona, I think, because I think with the age of social media that we're living in, it's a lot of the personalities that you see in it are very much trying to be as impressionable and as accessible and lovable as possible. So I don't know, maybe they can get like this kind of brand deal or this whatever. So, and I think also just the fear of maybe even being a bit real. Art can be made from every aspect of life, and nothing should be, untouched or be considered too far, because it's all part of the experience. Why not talk about pornography or violence or fucking, I don't know, like drugs? I forgot about that one somehow. As a society, as a culture, we ignore these things. The more fear that we build up around them, instead of just accepting that there's a dark side to who we are as a race, as much as there's a light part which we like to focus on. That's where Ryan Stagg lives, in this huge ecosystem of personas. It's so easy to let it kind of overwhelm you. You get into a state of like feeling the need to do it, and then it just completely just kills you because you just create so much stress. And that can happen a lot when it's kind of, you create it as the full focus, as the main thing, like overwork yourself. And I think also, probably because of like, there's a fear to it as well, a fear of like, oh, if I don't do it enough, I'm not gonna get to where I want to go with it, and I'm not gonna be hitting like these benchmarks that I feel like I need to be hitting. And it actually works better the other way, where you work in it when you feel you should and when you want to. But that's when the best stuff happens, when I can get into that kind of that flow state. Especially if you're working for other people, like a lot of the time, it's not your voice, which is kind of hard sometimes with projects, because like you'll be working on something and it's like, this does not embody me in any way. and I hate this, but I still have to finish it. That kind of diminishes you a little bit after you do that, because it's like, well, I've created something which arguably is great, it's beautiful, but I don't see the beauty in it. And then it's like, I don't want to even put this out and present this as self-expression whatsoever, because it's like, I don't see me in it. But like, something you just need to do it because you just need to fucking make money sometimes. I think you just have to really kind of learn yourself as much as you can, to work with yourself and to know, you know, what to work on. And that takes time, takes years. Like, it's taken me years to learn myself. But it is also quite difficult because, you know, you feel like you need to be creating constantly, you know, because there's so many other artists at the same time, probably putting out far more than you are, and that lives in your head as well. But I think it's just, again, it's understanding like what works best for you, so you get the best results. And like a lot of the time, it's actually, you know, working when it makes sense rather than working constantly. Just learn yourself. Like I was saying before, like, your story is like the most unique thing about you, I believe, and it holds all the gems, everything that you need in order to like create great work and have like an amazing career and stuff like that, and be stand out. The most poignant thing about any artist, and when it comes to music or it comes to even actors or photographers, painters, whatever, it's the ones where like you know their story the best, like, you know, and it's because they told it so well through their work. And I think that is probably the most essential thing any artist could do for themselves, is to tell their story through their work. Because I don't really see it, to be honest. It's a bit of a lost art, especially in visual art. Like, it's very much, you know, people being statement driven about something, or it's all about the fucking process, and it's just like, no one cares about that shit. People want to get to know you because they want to know if they relate to you. It's like primal socializing. Like, it's like you get into like the ape part of our brain, you know. How do I fucking relate to you to create a trust, you know? And it's just, you know, yeah, like, that's my advice.
Yeah.
Learn your story. Look
Friend.
within.
Yeah.
All the answers are within myself. This is a loaded question for me because I go back and forth so much on what that actually is.
What is success?
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't even know. Because a part of me is just like, I would just like to not answer to anyone else but myself and just create, just basically just like be in control of my time completely, and explore my mind, and who I am, to create just some of the greatest pieces that I think I could create. Because I very much believe, like, you know, your time is the most valuable thing to, you know, utilize in this life. But also, you know, part of me is like, I want to be recognized as much as I possibly can. You know, I don't want there to be a ceiling on how far I can go. And I think, you know, a lot of that wanting to be seen aspect definitely derives from childhood, of like just being very lonely and like isolated or marginalized throughout my early life, and then you then start creating, and then all of a sudden fucking people start, they notice you, you're suddenly in the room, and then you feed off that, and you're like, okay, now I fucking have a little party trick, I have something to catch your eye, and then it just becomes an obsession, and then it turns into the idea of like, well, how can I be successful from doing this, and how can I, like, I don't know, it's a weird toxic mentality, but it also doesn't equal success. I don't think being seen, I think just being able to do it as much as you possibly can maybe is yeah. I think I wanted to go with the black background because mainly because I hate doing backgrounds. It's lazy as shit. For me, it's all about the main voice of the concept. I want to get to the heart and soul of what it is I'm trying to talk about. I want total clarity in the voice of the art piece, and so I think it's just irrelevant to have anything in the background, to be honest. And also, I'm very much fixated on light. Like, for me, light is like the ultimate in all my work. Like, if I don't capture anything else right, if I capture the light perfect, then sweet. And so I think, yeah, just from that, I think that's where the whole black background aspect came from, and also just from like influences as well. Like, I'm a huge fanboy of like Caravaggio, and like Goya. I love Goya, and they did like similar stuff. There's a lot of like mental health history, like not in just my own life, but like in my family as well. And I think a lot of what I talk about is very much based on mental health. I think the core of it is always some level of mental health, whether it's looking at it in its most disastrous and brutal aspects, or in its like strongest and most enlightened kind of place it can be. So that kind of duality of where the mind can go, and really just like how you can just fucking lose it, without even seeing that's happening. I think that definitely bleeds into all my concepts. The firewoman, the woman with her head on fire. I don't know, there's something about that piece which just like has hit for so long, and it's connected so much with people. The idea of her head being on fire was such a last minute kind of idea, but it like speaks so much about so many things, and I feel like there's such a universal language to the picture, which I couldn't have sat there and planned and thought about. It was very much like a cathartic kind of free-flowing idea. So yeah, and I think it's very contemporary as well. Maybe my most contemporary picture. To be fair, I have like a number of times in my life, I've like not painted, for example, for like a few years, and then suddenly just come back to it, and as if I never left it. Maybe I think just being inspired by somebody else, really. Again, stories, like I'm so fascinated about learning, unique people and how they came to become who they were and stuff. And I think like the more I learn about certain people, especially other artists, then the more it kind of influences me to go back to it in periods when I'm just not doing it at all. And like what they've put into like a piece, you know, what they're trying to say and stuff, and that normally brings me back. It's kind of like, oh, you know, I want to do that as well. I think it's actually very healthy to like leave it and come back, you know, to kind of have a reboot, because I think it's so easy to get burnt out. But then also, I think with artist block, I feel like I don't think it exists. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think you can go through periods where you're very kind of like being very one-dimensional in ideas, and you're trying to follow like a specific narrative, and so you're just shooting down ideas. I think that's truly what artist block is when you're not fully exploring everything, you know, because you're like, I don't know if it fully represents what I'm trying to say. It's like, you don't know what you're trying to say. Like the whole point of you trying going through down all these paths is to figure out what you're trying to say. You know, so you don't really have artist block, you're just refusing ideas. Yeah, because it's like, there's so much out there to utilize. You can just go on fucking Pinterest and create like a mood board of things that just catch your eye. You know, you create an aesthetic board and then fucking start making art from that. You know, like it's as simple as that. I think people overthink this whole thing, and the whole trick is to think as little as possible about it. I think anything in life you have to relinquish control in order to flow with it. You know, it's the whole Wu Wei philosophy. You know, the Taoism. You know, you got to go with the flow, baby. Be like water. But it's true. It's true. When you stop trying to fight yourself and trying to control what it is you think you are, the more of yourself actually comes out. Quit right now. Fuck it. Don't do this to us. Look where we are. Fucking chill out, man. Don't overthink this. I think there was a lot of like pressure growing up to make this thing work, because, you know, as an artist you're always told you can't be an artist because it's not a practical way of living, it's not a job, it's going to be really difficult, you know, you're going to struggle, you know, you should try and do it in a more practical route. I was forced down so many different fucking routes, and then to fucking evidently end up going back to the original route. It's like, what was the point of all of that? Like, just like do it, you know, because I think there's so many voices and they're all just like insecure voices, especially when it's your parents as well, you know, like, you know, God bless my dad, like, he meant well, I think, in his critiques and stuff, but I think a lot of it came from like his brokenness for his own voice and how he wanted to express that, and didn't feel like he got the opportunity to do that, and he didn't want the same for me, and then obviously like the societal pressures as well. And when you're like a young impressionable, you know, kid, like, you know, you think that all of what people are saying is like, it's finite, it's like, well, they're experienced in it, so obviously I should listen to them. But I think it takes a lot of bravery, and a lot of like kind of inner belief or self belief to just be like, no, like, I know what my destiny is with this, and I know where I'm strongest at. I'm just gonna follow that. Which is, yeah, I wish I had done that earlier, you know, and I've learned the hard way, but To be honest, I'm not even thinking anything of that. I think I spent too many years trying to like foresee the future and what I want for it, and being like, I want to be here by the end of the year and stuff like that. And so I just no, I don't care. Like what will happen will happen. I don't want to see it. I don't want to try and see it. I just hope that I'm still creating work which speaks to me, and speaks to the reality that I live in, and I don't deviate from that for anyone. I stick to my guns and don't give into any like pressures of what success might bring. Like stick to my voice and my story. Hope for that, maybe, just to have that in 5 years still. I don't know. I think the only other thing I'll say on that maybe is that like I think one thing that artists should really like take advantage of is the idea of their brand. And like branding in itself is its own art form, and I think a lot of artists don't express their personal brand enough. They make it all about their art, and you can do that, but then it's just like you're bored, And I think social media is actually quite good for that, because it gives you just essentially a free platform to experiment with a brand. You've suddenly got fucking, these essentially these forums, and you can post up anything you want about yourself and express yourself to not just like your friends and family, but to fucking potentially millions of people. And that is a drug in itself. That is super addictive, maybe even more addictive than drugs, arguably. It's one of those things in society that its reputation precedes what the actual reality of it is. It's funny how there's certain aspects of reality that we taboo, but then there's other aspects which are just as bad, like, I don't know, junk food. But it's just like, it's everywhere. Like, it's promoted in your face constantly. But people die from fucking heart disease and diabetes as much as do from overdoses every year. But drugs are the thing that we tell kids to not fucking do. They don't tend to not eat McDonald's though. Or to fucking shovel food constantly. Like, they're not told not to do that, but they're told to not take a fucking ecstasy pill or smoke some weed or even do some hallucinogenics, which are actually quite healthy for your brain. Do a bit of lion's mane. Yeah, it's just funny that it's very, very hypocritical of our society